Zina Wilde, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Your job title, actor, producer, wellness expert. So I want to talk first about your youth. So you were born in
Yeah.
London, then raised in Greece, but eventually moved to New York City. So talk about that transition from your life of wanting to always maybe go to New York and become an actor and
Yeah, I did not come from a background of acting or performance or anything like that. So it wasn't like I was one of those kids that, I was like the kid in the playground that was like a musical theater kid or something like that. So it also didn't exist where I'm from. So I went to public high school. It was very much like dry, like academics, very like hard academics. And I think it was around when I was maybe 12 or so, I started feeling like one of my, what I would call superpowers was being very good at feeling. So I was like, I'm a good feeler. And then I started kind of examining this as a kid. And then I settled upon wanting to be a storyteller, whether it was, and at the time I didn't think that I wanted to write, but I now thinking back on it, I'm understanding that that was part of what I wanted to do as well, to just like to tell stories. So I decided when high school ended that, or before that, that I wanted to go to New York because that's really where everyone wants to go if they want to act, or in my case, it was the case. And I was thinking to myself that, okay, I want the best. So if I want the best, I gotta go to the best. So that's what led me to New York. Yeah.
And do you think that helped, like your international upbringing, having lived in a couple different countries before coming to New York, maybe gave you that extra edge than say, because I know as someone, a U.S. citizen, growing up, like New York is
Hmm.
kind of the city you want to go to, New York or L.A., if you want to get into the arts. And so,
Yeah.
do you think then that also helped you having lived in other countries before coming to the U.S.?
It did and it didn't, because I was a baby when I left London. I barely remember. I mean, the benefits of it was that I got a British passport and I got to go back to London every Christmas, but we were really like a Greek family. All my parents are both Greek. I was completely raised, all I can remember was Greece. So yes and no, because my parents, like, they really wanted to travel, so we traveled a lot as a family also. So there was this idea of a global, that the world is endless, that there's so many things to do, that there's so many places to go. And I've always been a curious spirit, so I think that that's truly what pushed me to do it. And there's something a bit of a masochistic thing in me that it's like I want the hardest thing. I want to prove the hardest way possible or something. So I don't know. There's more therapy for me. So
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned your parents. So were they always supportive of your career, and especially moving to the US at what, 18 to go to school and
well,
pursue a career?
they were supportive in terms of like they did the regular thing that most parents do of like you got to get a degree, and I don't care what it is, but you got to get a degree. So to me, I was like, great, well, then I'll get a degree in what I love doing. And they did have, especially my dad had this thing of, as long as you love what you're doing, you will do it well. So that was the the upbringing was very much connected to that. But did they love me being an actor? No. Especially my dad was a doctor, so it was like, oh my God, like I was hoping that somebody would continue this legacy, and it was totally not the case. So
I interviewed an actor, Muhammad Kareem, and he actually went to medical school as well as becoming an actor when he
oh
moved to
my
LA, because he
God.
was from Egypt. And
Yeah,
so he was like, yeah, we had to do both, to satisfy my parents, but I also wanted to pursue this acting career. So I get it.
he would have made my parents very proud. So
So okay, so do you remember what your kind of first big break was then? Was it while you were still in college, or was it after? At what point did you say, did you feel like, okay, this is, I could really make a career of this?
well, there were a couple of things because it was more gradual, but I started in theater, so I worked. a lot in the theater community in New York, and that was something that I really enjoyed, and it was so creative, and it was such a community, and it was every day, which was something that I really loved. So that part, and then I worked with this theater company back then that was very active, and so we would get, as a 20-year-old, to get like write-ups in the New York Times and all these big publications. I remember feeling like, wow, I'm really doing it, because it was like, we were in magazines, there was a lot of press around it. It was really, people really loved that type of show that we were presenting also. And it was truly like a very eye-opening experience, and I learned so much from it, and also perseverance. So that was the beginning, but then I made a conscious shift a couple years later, maybe around, actually it was quite a bit, maybe 6 years later, because there was a whole other issue as well, that back in the day, I didn't have citizenship, so I only had an artist visa. So the artist visa was something that you could work on some plays, some TV, some commercials, and some films, but you couldn't really work on TV. So it was like a big thing that you had to work so hard to prove that you were this actor of outstanding abilities. It's what they called it. And then you would get this visa, but then you weren't allowed to work in half of the jobs that were out there. So it was super limiting. So it was almost like you were like, run a marathon, but ankle weights on, and you have a splinter on your foot, and like it was like all these obstacles. So I kind of, since I was in the theater world, I decided to stay more into that. And then once I got my green card, then I was like, okay, now I want to try into the world of film and TV. So then the moment that I got my green card, I think it was a month later, I got my first big break, which was a big job. It was on the Blacklist. I was like, I had like a couple of lines. It wasn't like a big thing, but it was for me, because it was sort of like, whoa, okay, I'm breaking into this now. So that's how it started.
Right, right, and that became a big show, so I would imagine even a couple lines on a big show like that is a great stepping
Yeah,
stone. I know. Most
it was good. Yeah, it was a positive thing of like, whoa, okay, 1 month in my green card, and like I get this. So it was good.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say most actors and actresses that I've interviewed, for them it was a lot of like rejections, and then maybe it was like commercials before they actually got any sort of part on any sort of show, and maybe that show didn't go
Yeah.
anywhere. So the Blacklist was a huge one,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. No, it was a good one.
yeah, yeah. And then many people may know you as Elena from the show Billions, which it was also got a lot of success. So how did that
Yes.
role come about? And just talk about that show and that experience.
Yeah, so that was a very interesting experience. I mean, I loved working on that show so much. I can talk about this forever, but the way that it worked was that I was playing. I always say that I've made a career out of playing secretaries, billionaire secretaries, the secretary of a billionaire, because before that. I worked on the series Madoff with Richard Dreyfuss playing his assistant. So that's how it started. So it was a mini series, and I did that for like, I think it was 4 or 5 episodes. So I worked on that. And the casting director from Billions is my good friend, and she knew that I had done that role. So then she was also like, oh, there's an audition for Damian's secretary, and I was like, oh my god, that would be incredible. So then I went to audition for the first secretary, and I didn't get it. I got a call back. I remember I went back in. I didn't get that role. And then a couple of months later, so like they had filmed 1 or 2 episodes, they were like, we're actually adding another one, and they wanted to add you as a second person that is his main assistant. So that's how it started. And then I had no clue how long I was going to stay on for in the beginning. So I thought that, oh, maybe it's like a one-time thing, 1 episode, 2 episodes. Then it ended up being, I don't know, 51 episodes. So it's like, was the whole the whole show. So it was great.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
quite a
amazing.
good run, yeah. So The Blacklist,
Yes.
Madoff, which you just mentioned, Thorpe, and Rescue Me was another one. Is there one particular role that was most rewarding for you, or maybe for some sort of like personal reason, and not necessarily, because it lasted several seasons or episodes, and or had the most huge success?
Yeah, well, there were a couple ones. I will say that the one, well, Billions was a huge one for many, many reasons. Apart from the long run, just as an education, it was just it's so rare to be on something in that much of a consistency, and to show up for work every day, and to build the stamina, to know how to act around other people, uh, to really have to combine everything together, to just know that, okay, this is my workplace, this is what's acceptable, this is what's not acceptable, to learn from other people, to learn practically from other people, to learn through like segues of other events that happen. And it was 9 years, so a lot of things happened for people personally, for people professionally, for people in every capacity. So I think that that was more of a human full spectrum experience. So it was super rewarding. And so I think that that was something very rare that I think most actors don't get the chance to experience, which is phenomenal. um and then another thing that was really rewarding was, actually, I did this indie film, I think it was 2 years ago, that we filmed in Austin, that is called Home Free, and it was about homelessness. And I think that that was it was a very interesting experience, because we got to really connect with that community also. And it was based on a true story for these two guys that wrote it. And it speaks to my heart. I think that, especially back then, in 2022, where the homelessness problem was so prevalent. Not that it's not now, but I remember, like, after COVID, it was just such a huge thing, especially in LA. It was just it was everywhere. So that one was very close to my heart as well. So, but they all kind of have a special
Of
place.
course, yeah, it's like your children, right? Which one's
Exactly.
your favorite? Yeah, you can't answer that question. Um, so yeah,
Exactly.
talking about writing and producing. So talk a little bit about that and wanting to get into that, and how is it different from acting in front of the camera, in the entertainment world?
Yeah, so writing and producing, I generally, most of the things that I've done, I've written, produced, and starred. So I almost can't really talk about the experience of not being in front of the camera, because everything that I've written, I've also been in it. But there's definitely a different, like, you wear a lot of hats during that process. So um there are moments where, when I'm not on camera and somebody else is working, or like other scenes with other people, then I do get to play that role of producer, writer. And it's truly, like, it's the epitome of multitasking, because y- especially when you're doing something small, like the things that I've done, it's not like a multi-budget, like $1 million movie or something, or millions of dollars. $1 million would be very small. But
Yeah, right.
like, but it's not something so big. So we all do everything. So from the cleaning to the directing, we all have a say in everything. And it is, again, going back to this idea of community. It's something that I think is very precious to me. And I've worked with the same people for many, many years, and we have built a team. So now it's like, the person that shoots the films, like my DP, is somebody that is a very dear friend, and he's always I only shoot with him, because he's just someone that I trust so much, and we've built this rapport, and like this friendship, and this community. And so yeah, it's we all do everything. So it's a little manic, it's a little crazy, But it's also very rewarding because when it comes out and when it shows in places, you're like, wow, this is mine. This is, it's going back to what you're saying, it's truly my baby.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So is this the crew then that's working on this new film for you? We regret to inform you. How did that story come about and the whole project? Talk about like the process.
Yeah, so the story is very personal. So it was, I was going through a breakup and it felt like my world was ending. And I wanted to write something about that in a place where I could put it in an imaginary scenario that is completely not common. So because breakups are very common, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna take this very common experience and put it somewhere else. So it's a sci-fi movie, a short film. So it's based on the idea that in the near future we all have to write up for this service. So as long as you have a social security, you have to write up for the service, and the service calls you 24 hours prior to your death. So um, if you are dying, you get a call 24 hours before, and they tell you, "We regret to inform you that you're dying." So that's pretty much the idea behind it. That's how it got created. So then in this specific situation, this woman is dying from a broken heart. So that's the premise of the movie.
And how long did it take to write? Was this something like you had in your head and you're like, okay, I'm gonna start to put this down on paper and really build this thing out?
Yeah, it took a couple of, I mean, honestly, it took a couple of months because yes, I wrote it. I did a couple passes. Then I was in a class at the time, so I would bring it back to class every week, and I would work on it with some of my classmates, and I would get some notes from them and kind of refine it. And so a couple of months, yeah.
And I find it interesting that so you wrote this based on something in your own life, and a lot of like
Mhm.
singers and songwriters and musicians I've interviewed, they talk about that, like, a song might have been written because of something that happened to them. So I take it this is the same kind of way, just a different artistic expression of it.
Absolutely. They say, take your broken heart and put it into art. So I think that it is the best thing to do with when you're going through something. It's the most therapeutic way to deal with it. I mean, there are others, and it doesn't mean that if somebody's going through something, they need to write a song but why not? Maybe they do.
Yeah,
So
maybe it helps with the healing
it's a great
process
outlet.
too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
yeah, and I guess that
Yes.
also leads to another part of your career, the Zina retreats. I think I pronounced that correctly.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
talk about that and the wellness side of your life and how important that is, probably for balance as well.
It's super important to me, and again, the theme is community because truly, what it is, it's building community. And I think that after COVID hit, I just felt like people really needed connection, and it's becoming less and less common that people are actually in the same room doing something. So I got the idea of building these trips because I am from another place, because I love the place where I'm from so much, and I wanted to show it, to share it with other people. And the way that it got created was because at that time it was at the same time as that breakup. I was having a very difficult time, and it was also after COVID, and everything was like the world was so dark. And I remember going back home at some point and being in that water and feeling like the depression was evaporating. It was almost like I could hear it, when like there's something really hot in water. And I was like, wow, this is the only thing that's worked. I had tried everything else, like everything, self-help, massage, like everything, like, and it was the only thing that water truly helped me. And I was like, I had that thought, and it was almost like a download of like, I cannot be the only person that's feeling this. And I was like, I want to do something about it. And then that's how it got created. And it became very successful. So I guess I wasn't the only one thinking that. I wasn't the only one feeling that. And it's still going strong. So yay.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you had these retreats at several different places around the world, Sicily, Paris, and I think, like
Yes.
you just mentioned, Greece. Is there one like memorable experience that really stands out to you, or one place that you really like visiting?
Well, I mean, I'm a little biased, so
With Greece?
Greece is always
Yeah,
the my favorite because I'm from there and it feels like I'm sharing something that's also really personal with them. But I also love all the places that I choose. I really love them, and that's why I choose them. So it's especially like Paris that's coming up in December. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. I find that it's and that specific one is the theme is love and relationships, so I think that Paris is the perfect backdrop for it. So it's like we combine this city that is so romantic with the theme of love and relationships, and there's a lot of people that are curious and are struggling with that subject right now, whether it's like the dating apps or the going through divorces. It's also like an age thing at this point, like the age groups. So yeah, I can't pick one favorite, but they're all my favorite places in the world. So yeah.
sure. Is there one that you haven't visited yet that you want to have like on your bucket list to do?
Okay, so my favorite one that's coming up, I will say
That
that
one.
is kind of my favorite, is we're doing South Africa in February, so it's a safari that we're doing, and that one is so special because it's impossible to do on your own. Like, most places in the world you can say, I'm a solo traveler, I'm gonna go, I'm adventurous, I'm gonna have a hard time some places, but I'll figure it out. You cannot go to South Africa by yourself. You cannot do a safari by yourself. You're going to be eaten by the lions. It's just it's just how it is. So like having this opportunity to partner with Darren, who is from South Africa, who's like a wildlife filmmaker, is so rare and so special that it's just a remarkable opportunity. So I'm so excited about it. And yeah, so we're now advertising it and trying to fill it up. So, and it's also weirdly, I mean, it's going to sound crazy what I'm saying. It's remarkably not expensive for what it is. I mean, people will say she's crazy because it's still a lot of money, but
Right.
it's the kind of thing that, when people are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go on my honeymoon to Africa, and they spend $20,000 each. So we've kind of like managed to do the same thing for around 7,000. So it is truly a big difference, and that's only because of him. So um thank you, Darren. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's the thing.
And I think more now so than ever, people are looking for experiences and spending money on that, and will spend more just because those create memories that last forever. More than buying something that is
Oh yeah,
superficial, whatever. That you keep and then a couple years you forget about, or it just collects dust and then you get rid of it. That experience will always live, I think, in your
totally.
memory forever.
Totally. Well, I mean, I will say, and that's one of the most amazing things is that people that have come to the retreats before, they've become best friends, they've become roommates, they've come back to the retreats and they all travel together. So there's one specific group that has been that was one of my first groups that they gelled so much that they come back every time. So they also came to Greece this summer. They came to Greece the first year. They came to Sicily. We're doing another one in Paris just for them because there's a bunch of them, so we can't all fit. So it is like it's an amazing thing. Like they're a group of friends that now travels together, and then they are just waiting for me to be like, okay, this is where we're going next. So
Sure, sure,
so that's the plan. Yeah.
sure. Has your definition of success changed over the years from your early days in New York to now? I mean, obviously they probably have, and probably depending
Yeah.
on the career, whether it's acting in front of the camera, or producing or writing, or with the wellness retreats. How has like it evolved for
Yeah.
you?
I mean, to me, there's no bigger success than being happy, like whatever that means to everybody. So um the whole I will be happy when X happens, I think is the biggest mistake people can follow, and especially in the world of Hollywood and movies, and that happens so much. Like, oh, when I get this big break, I'll be so happy. And it's like, no, 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 because you're practicing not being happy this whole time. So you you just like the little things. It's true. I know it's cheesy. People say it all the time, but to me now it's much more important to do the things that and take pleasure in very simple things like my coffee in the morning, my plants. I love plants. Like it's like all these things, like, you know, being in the water. It's like we have so much and we take it for granted. And I think that the older I get, I just I'm making it a practice every day to not do that.
Okay, and
So
knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to your younger self? Um, now being where you are in your career.
yeah, don't worry so much is what I would tell her. Don't worry so much. Don't be a worrier. And even though, or I would say it better, because you can't, if it was that simple, then we would all not worry. We would all like not do the things that are don't feel good. But I would say more like be more patient with yourself and sit with yourself, sit with your worry. Don't try to bypass it so that you get to the next thing. Just hug your monsters a little, you know.
Yeah, sure. And I think also, like I look back on, my life and I think of like all the things that you thought were big then weren't really that big now. Especially like when I was in school, like you always think like school is going to be like for a big portion of your life. Now I look back and I'm like, that was a very small portion of my life. I wish I had, kind of
Right.
focused a little more or not, worried so much about the future and just enjoyed the present.
Yeah, yeah. And we always say it, but I think that that's the benefit of having some years in your back that you're like, okay, you kind of see it more clearly. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So the new independent film is coming out. What else is in your pipeline for projects? Obviously, you have the retreat coming up. Yeah. So what's next that you
Yes.
want to talk about? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Okay, well, so what's happening in right now is I'm going back to Greece in 2 weeks because there's another one of the retreats is happening. So that's early September. One of the things that is happening, one of my big projects, which I'm so excited because the first time I'm actually talking about it in on air or like in that kind of a
Sure.
setting, is I've decided to actually build a retreat space in Mount Olympus in Greece. So I'm working on the project right now. So we're building it. It's more of like a place where it will be a retreat space for whether it is for us to run groups or for residencies for actors to make films, to be a creative space for us. And it's very much in nature. It will be like a farm to table. It's a huge, huge project. It's the hugest thing I've ever worked on. And granted that I'm not a lawyer or an architect or a civil engineer, it is very overwhelming because I have to deal with all these people at the same time. But the vision is mine, and
So, but
it's
we'll add
yes,
project manager to your title as well.
exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, it sounds.
But that's another
Yeah.
that I'm doing right now, which is huge. Yeah.
It does sound like quite
So
the undertaking. It sounds like it's almost like it could be like a studio space, an Airbnb, bed and breakfast, like everything all at the same
yes.
time, all at once.
It's everything, and it's really the idea. It sounds so funny, but like I want to build a summer camp for adults. So it's pretty much that, and to have that space in nature in this mythical place of Mount Olympus, not in LA, because every time I say it, they're like, "Oh, right here." I'm like, "No, in real Mount
The other
Olympus."
one, yeah.
The real one. So that is a big, big undertaking, and that's why I'm staying there for a little extra, and then I'm coming back to LA in October, and then I have the 2 retreats in Paris in December, and then we're doing the retreat in South Africa in February. And then in the meantime, I'm also working on a new script that I'm writing. So all these things, and of course I'm auditioning and all the stuff. So everything is working at the
All
same
right. Well, good.
time.
Yeah. Lots of things to look forward to. And I'm sure we'll keep track of your
Yes.
career all along the way. So, yeah, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it, Zina. Best of luck to you.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.